All right, so we're going to continue to monitor the situation out in Maryland at Joint Base Andrews. We have been reporting that Air Force One had to be redirected on its way to Davos for the World Economic Forum carrying the president due to an electrical issue. It arrived back at JBA at 11:07 p.m. We don't have any further information. We are being told that there are 2 replacement planes on the tarmac. So by all accounts, it appears that the president is going to do whatever's possible to make that trip and continue for his speech tomorrow. We'll continue to monitor it. We have Kelly Meyer on the ground. We are so happy to hear that the president is okay. And if we find any updates in the next few minutes, we'll make sure to let you know. But in the meantime, I also have to talk about what happened today. Okay, big update in the crime world. Now, there is little doubt that actor Timothy Busfield is feeling a little better today than yesterday, because he started his morning shackled and in an orange jumpsuit, and he ended a free man. He was allowed to await his pending child sexual abuse case free on his own recognizance, despite prosecutors' best attempt to paint Busfield as a danger to the community. The New Mexico judge cited the actor's lack of criminal history, willingness to turn himself in as reasons that the actor deserves to be free for now. Now, Busfield is accused of inappropriate conduct with twin boys that he worked with on the Fox show The Cleaning Lady, which, by the way, he adamantly denies. And today, the court heard a police interview where the boys initially denied that Busfield ever touched them. Take a listen. This clip is courtesy of TMZ.
So, you know what's right and wrong, right?
Yeah.
You know no one could touch your private areas?
Yeah, but he doesn't touch that part.
Doesn't touch your private parts? Okay. Okay. And you know what's right and wrong, right? You know where people can't touch, where people can't do. Yeah, you know that, right? Does Tim ever do that?
No, he's never touched me.
Never touched you?
Yeah.
In like, you know, your private areas, right?
Yeah.
Never did that?
Never.
Yeah.
Now, Busfield claims that the new allegations after that initial interview were made out of vengeance, after the twins were not invited back for a second season of the show, that their parents have a history of being fraudsters. So what are we seeing exactly? Well, that's why I want to bring on my guests to help talk about this. Joining me right now is Todd Spodek, criminal defense attorney who represented Anna Delvey in her 2019 trial. Meredith Feiertag, a partner at Wigdor LLP, famously represented singer Cassie Ventura in her lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs. Thank you both so much for coming on. Todd, I'll start with you. You think it was the right decision to release him because the prosecution came out strong, right? They cited past allegations of sexual assault. We know that it took several days for Busfield to turn himself in after there was an arrest warrant. There was, you have the allegations of these 2 children. Your thoughts?
Jesse, I think the judge did the right thing. He's balancing 2 things, right? One is a danger to the community, and 2 is whether he's going to come back to court to face these charges. He has no history whatsoever. He surrendered himself when he needed to. He has support of the community, friends, and family. He has the resources to post bail if need be. And at the end of the day, as the evidence shown so far, the story is not exactly perfect.
It's not black and white. It's a little gray, but I will tell you, Meredith, this audio is interesting. I look at it 2 ways, right? One, you could say, well, at first they don't even mention that anything sexual happened. Maybe this is not true. Maybe they're making it up. The other way of looking at it is how many times have we seen cases of sexual abuse, whether it's a child or whether it's an adult? There are very complicated reasons why people don't admit what happened to them, and maybe it does take a therapist, maybe it does take a doctor for them to come forward. That tape's going to be important.
That's right, Jesse. I absolutely agree. In cases of sexual assault, delayed, incomplete reporting is very common because people are afraid. People feel guilty. They feel ashamed. And reporting and going through the justice system with a very sensitive allegation like this is very difficult. So while at first they said that nothing happened, my understanding is later they, after seeking therapy, were able to come forward with the allegations, and I think that context will play out in court for the jury.
Todd, do you think that this is a case of vengeance, or do you think there's something more here? What's your take?
Obviously, my take is going to be of a criminal defense attorney, and I think the family has a motive here. Okay, these kids were rejected from participating in another show, and they have a reason to bring these allegations forward. And you heard the tape where the kids 100% denied any sexual interaction whatsoever.
Weren't they very descriptive in their explanations of what happened? I mean, one child, I mean, they didn't admit things that they didn't say happened, and the child was very specific about what he claims happened to him.
But the science goes both ways. There's science that says sometimes children don't give the complete picture, but there's also science that says that talking about it enough and motivation by parents and external factors could increase what the kids say.
Meredith, over to you. There was an independent investigation that was ordered by Warner Brothers. A law firm was, there. They basically said there was no corroborating evidence. The prosecution say it was not thorough. Your take on it?
Right. Well, we all know, I'm also an employment lawyer, that corporations hire outside investigators to conduct investigations that aren't thorough, that aren't neutral, that are biased in favor of the company. So I don't think that the lawyer-driven report by Warner Brothers is going to be probative one way or the other. I think the evidence has to come out at trial.
From a criminal perspective, do any of the past allegations against Timothy Busfield, never matured into criminal charges, do they make their way in this trial?
No, I don't think so. They're highly prejudicial, and I don't think they provide any probative value. I think the judge would not allow that.
Is there a lawsuit? Can they sue Timothy Busfield despite the criminal case?
Yes.
Think they will?
I couldn't speak for them.
Okay.
They certainly do have a civil lawsuit as well, but that might be stayed pending the pendency of the criminal case.
All right, guys. Todd Spodek, Meredith Firetalk, thank you for sticking around. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.